Good evening. Well, I will start with a prayer, so please join with me. As I said, the meaning of the prayer is changing our attitude, creating the right space in our mind, and actually sums it up in one word is positive thinking, compassion. Because that's something alien to us, compassion is. Though it shouldn't be, it's not the case. But we are so used to self-cherishing, self-centered. So if you look into your own mind, you're the best judge to yourself than anybody else. It seems that most of the time we are so concerned about oneself, we are never open up. So therefore, when we do prayer, we try to change ourselves, create a space which includes everyone within our space. And that's what is called compassion, including everyone. And so it's simple as that, in a way, as far as what prayer means. It doesn't matter whatever tradition of prayer you do, whether Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, whatever tradition, that should be the meaning, trying to open up from closed mind. So please join with me in your hearts that we can be open up. If you don't open up, you will never understand meditation. You will never understand yourself, basically. It's all about learning about yourself. In fact, it has nothing much to do with the other. Yes, if you're a kind person, it can help your immediate environment and your environment. No question of that. But the first person to experience coming out of your ego is yourself. From a narrow mind, narrow world to a big world. So that's really, prayer means opening up to your basic goodness. Okay, so please join with me. Nazinum Darajinum Be, Toji Najubaye, Sangishu Dangino Papeso, Kunajas Edajataji. The major president of Rogo, Champion Bagodabadamba, Kunogu Maja, Lumbutter Bazar. Some Jedum Jelabun to Pepe, Ism the Bazar of Butterbell, Sism the Betashi Pepe, the worship by Galajas. Jumbejuno Balendo Jeze, Jereza Wangumboch, saying you bought a panum Braze, Numgenu Pachokundos, Ube the Jepegan. No Buddha water in you, my Chazalinum to Jepegacho, Chanjus by Gala Chazalo and Gender Jotasis. The job was a young commander, Yadun Dampens Pepe, Minujas Wunjurukun. The Gender Jagaja, then Jan should do you watch Jingama, Gismo to Pepe. Toshila Mongela, Chazalo, Sambashim Buddha Jungsemepo, McDonald Nayabu. Bagabadanu, Mimizan, Tessela Zakolota, Tishola Tandu. Be wanted to shooting as in the Sasumnes or Galactic page, take one Gala, Chazalo, digesting their chavas. Get on your words of Kunjini, the Dembebe some dish. Tashi dele Pusums of Barsho, digesting their chavas and Bala, get on your words of Kunji. The Dembebe some division, Rup, Tashi dele Pusums of Barsho, digesting their chavas. Get on your words of Kunjini, the Dembebe some dish. Tashi dele Pusums of Parasho, Jumne de Paragumbo, Jizin Jabayana Cha, Salo, Kangilo Dudini, Tintinyidanum Darab Save, Chingi to go, Jizin, you to one. Mother's the best, Ramore Mundum to go, Gisave, Rosokuna, Pujita Zayana to see. To Trashiro, new Monino, Legature, Marimus to renew, Chingi. Then is a just a jutor thing in Dennis, I guess it to be good, Judaj. Dalo Mose Jampur Yang Ladi, Marapazanadi, Marapazanadi, Marapana. O Marapazanadi, Marapazanadi, Marapanadi, Marapanadi, Marapazanadi. O Marapazanadi, Marapanadi, Marapazanadi, Marapanadi, Marapanadi. Kurum the Deja Jishing Ba Ubetana Sharablet. The Pazamaja go Gumbo Jambi Hanaja. Concertabur the bomb, choose it over the Nayang, Gumbo Jami. Came a pariaton where I shoe. So usually I see some new people today. So usually Thursday we do sitting practice or meditation. When you do meditation, first of all, it's important to understand that basically you're working with yourself. And for that you have to be open in your mind. And we may ask the question, sometimes we say, well, I'm always open to myself. You know, how can I not be open to myself? But the question is, if we are so open to ourselves, how come we have so much conflicts within our mind? That conflict tells that, yes, it is your mind. There's nobody else's mind. It's your mind. But however, your mind is in conflict with your projections. It's kind of like a love and a hate relationship with your projection or to yourself. And then what causes that conflict in our mind? Obviously, there has to be a cause. Nothing can happen without a cause. Universe, they'll be completely like, we know that's not true because whatever you do has a cause, and it has nothing to do with some tradition or spiritual tradition or religious tradition or anything, but it just has to do with the nature itself. If you want to put a seed of a rose flower, you need to put the seed of a rose flower. It's just the nature. It's nothing complicated. It's nothing to do with religion, or it has nothing to do with the idea. It's just the nature. And we all are living organism. When we look at our own body, it's a living organism. Our body, our feeling, perception. And further, when we look within our body, there's so many bacteria, so many living organisms, in fact, billions and billions of living organisms. So there is, whether it's external phenomena or whether it's internal phenomena, there's a continuous process of causality, cause and effect. Everything, whether it's flowers to grow or plant to grow or our thoughts, our emotion, there's a constant process of cause and effect continuously. So in the Buddhist teaching, it says things happen when there is cause and effect. Cause, which is the primary cause, and secondary condition comes together. It's the nature which gives the birth to a phenomenon, good or bad or whatever that is. Your happiness and your suffering is based on cause and effect. Nothing to do with no external, there's no third agent in the universe who is doing that. It's directly done by the nature. It's the same thing in your own mind. Your thoughts, your emotions are continuous process of causality. What you are thinking now is based on what you were thinking in the past. So habits of the past, we say our thoughts and emotions are habits of the past. Habit of the past is carried from the past until today. And tomorrow you will pretty much bring about that habit, what's in your mind you're used to. So it has been a continuity of that process of causality. There's no creator, according to the Buddhist teaching, to do that. And there's no demons to bring negativity, or there is no some kind of, let's say, a creator to do that. It's just the process of the nature. You can't blame anyone. You have to take responsibility. It's your own mind. So, based on the causality of that particular seed, whether it's a positive mental thought or negative mental thought, and then engaging that mental thought, expressing through your speech and through your body, kind or unkind, compassionate or uncompassionate. Based on that, your day-to-day life experience is a result directly of that nature, causality. It directly comes out of that. So what makes finally one to realize that you take full responsibility to your existence. As much as you would like to take responsibility to your happiness, you also have to take responsibility to your suffering. Afflictive emotion. Afflictive emotion brings suffering. The cause of suffering is afflictive emotion. There's no other cause to suffering than afflictive emotion. Traditionally, that afflictive emotion, it is pointed out to three root causes: ignorance, aggression, and attachment. Those are the three root causes of all our suffering. So we can clearly see something went wrong, that's why I'm suffering. Unwanted things happening in my life. Due to that, some confusion. Very clear, it is a result of confusion. Our suffering is not a result of something, accidentally happen. Pure incident. It has nothing to do with pure incidents. It is, in some way, you wouldn't say conscious, I did this ignorance consciously. Nobody would say that. And that'll be really like craziness. But we see we do crazy things subconsciously, or we're ignorant about its cause. And as long as you remain ignorant about its cause, as long as the rise of suffering will come into our life, in our existence. That would include body, speech, and mind, basically. Who goes through the experience is physical suffering. You can say speech and you can say mind. Finally, it's the mind. It sums up to one thing, which is the mind. Body and speech are more like channeling through that, what's in your mind. So therefore, understanding mind is something very important. How the mind functions. How an ignorant mind functions versus how a wisdom mind functions. how an unkind mind function versus how a compassionate mind function. Because it has a direct impact in your life. That's the reason why it needs to be understood well. If it has nothing to do with your day-to-day life and your happiness and your suffering, then there is no connection. We can just drop it. There's no need to understand mind. You know when you suffer in your mind, not your body. Well, definitely we can say when we're sick that my body is suffering. But mainly, it's your mind which is going through that. And between a physical pain and mental pain is much more deeper than physical pain. Physical pain is too unpleasant. But mind confusion is like always there. It's just like the shadow of your body. Wherever you go, if the mind is in confusion, it just comes with it. Then everything you deal with it, you're dealing in a wrong way. And perhaps that is the reason, if you look deeper, introspection, the cause of your suffering has to do with some kind of confusion in your mind. How you relate to yourself and how you understand yourself. Directly, it just stops there. It doesn't go anywhere else. Your own personal experience is direct result of how you understand your existence or how you relate with your mind. Because that's where there's no other existence beside your mind. You are, how you express is your mind. How you understand is your mind. So it looks like definitely the suffering is caused by confusion, but mind has the ability, the amazing thing, mind has the ability, when you do something wrong, you feel uncomfortable and you may be able to do something, trick some people or cheat some people or do whatever, but you know it's not good and you don't feel comfortable because that is more foreign to you. Compassion is more of your nature, who you are. But whenever we feel self-centered, deeply occupied with oneself, to an extreme level, like very self-centeredness, we don't feel comfortable. Deep inside, you never feel comfortable. And your environment, your family, friends, they don't feel comfortable either, being around a person who is so caught up self-centeredly. So that shows that in that kind of notion, when the mind gets fixated to the self-centeredness, then all our problem arises from that. So there is a saying in general Buddhist teaching, too much self-centeredness causes a lot of problem. Doesn't mean that lesser self-centeredness causes no problem. It does cause, as long as there is a self-centeredness, it does cause problem because it's a confused mind and it's a narrow view, and it's just everything you deal with is seen through the prism of the self-centeredness. So then, Mahayana teaching, the Buddhist teaching of greater awareness, called Maham, is a Sanskrit word. Great mind, big mind, heroic mind, which is the mind of compassion. Mahayana compassion is very logical, actually. It is nothing. A lot of times we have a misunderstanding of compassion. We think compassion is to do with someone giving you a piece of bread you have nothing to eat about, or a piece of clothes to wear. Yes, there's an act of compassion. There's an act of kindness, no question of that. But we think it has nothing to do with us. But if you really introspect and look about what compassion means, it's a very logical mind. It has nothing to do with some third agent or some external creator telling you, but it is to do directly with the nature again. So we can, for example, look at example to that. day to day a human life, or day to day an animal life, or some creature, basically whoever has a consciousness, mind. There's animate and inanimate. So we need to differentiate between one who have a consciousness and one who doesn't have a consciousness. Humans and animals and creatures, including dogs and cats, they have a mind. So there's joy, there's fear, there's hope, everything. But like stones or water do not have a mind. It has no feeling like what we have. So anyone who has a consciousness, who has a mind, looks for a satisfaction of joy in life. The stone doesn't look for that, but a conscious mind looks for, is always something good to happen, some joy to happen, and how I'm going to relate to that. Whether we get that or not, but at least we're all striving for happiness. Everyone is striving for happiness all the time, in fact. Nobody says, let me suffer for 1 minute today, consciously. That'll be crazy, right? Nobody says that. I want to be happy every second. Whether we achieve that or not is a different question, but that's everyone wish for even a moment of joy, happiness, and liberation. Liberation from all our conflicting thoughts and emotions and problems of all kinds. So we are looking for, so when you look at that, first thing we look is a sensorial happiness. What we are looking for, we are looking sensorial happiness. So when we are looking for sensorial, do you need compassion to experience sensorial happiness? Or you need a kind heart to experience sensorial happiness? Do you get sensorial happiness just being mean and bad? Or do you get sensorial happiness by being opposite of mean and bad? That would be the question to ask. And then we know that moment we are born, when we introspect about the reality, moment we are born out of our mother's womb, we are continuously, dependent on the others for our well-being and happiness. It is the kindness of your mother who breastfeed you. If your mother just dumped you somewhere, you wouldn't be here today, first of all. You are here today because your mother has shown love and compassion to you. Quite clear about that. And so therefore you are dependent on others, starting with your own birth, that you're depending your well-being, your survival, your happiness to be a human today, grown-up human, to went through your different expertise, knowledge, whatever. So many things based on their kindness and caring and compassion. And then as you begin to grow up, you're dependent on your friends. Even our parents advises us, have good friends when you go to school. Have good friends in college. Have good friends in university, because having a good friend, that's mean a kind person basically. It has nothing to do with, some power or something. But the true good friend is someone who is there for you all the time, who have tolerance for you, who have patience for you, who is there for you. That's basically what good friends means. So we are always dependent on the other. Our friends love and caring for our well-being, our partners, our friends, other people, society, government, nations, in the world, everyone for survival. We are all interdependent. We are all dependent on the others. Kindness, others' affection, others' love to grow. Without that, we cannot grow. So our sensorial happiness, which most people look, Most people doesn't look more than sensorial happiness. What is enlightenment is a far deeper question. But at least we look something pleasurable in the eyes, pleasurable in the ears, pleasurable in the smell, nose, pleasurable in the taste, the food we will eat, and pleasurable in our body feeling, and finally a pleasurable in our mind experience. That's what people look for that. Now how do you get that? By being selfish, by being mean to others? Very difficult. You may point a gun to someone and rob someone, but you will never get the pleasure. You may take that material, but you will never get the pleasure of joy in the mind, whoever robs you. That person cannot get the pleasure of joy in their mind. That satisfaction cannot happen. So you see, we are constantly in our day-to-day lifetime depending on a kind-hearted. So when you are compassionate, when you are kind-hearted, the others also open up. And then when the others open up, when you open up, others open up, then you can achieve your joy, satisfaction through that kind-heartedness. So kind-heartedness is the first step towards achieving, fulfilling the life purpose, the meaning of life. Without kind-hearted, there is no way we can ever achieve our goal. Nobody likes, as I said, a person who is self-centered, selfish, and who is just always obsessed with that kind of thoughts and emotion. So therefore, some kind of mental training you need to do. You need to look at things quite differently, with more open and kindness and compassion, instead of that self-selfish, that we are so accustomed to it in our day-to-day life. The first thing ever come is ourself, all the time. It's true, we all have that habit. We never make others the first choice. We make ourselves the first choice. And there's nothing wrong in doing that. But somehow when you go to the extreme, then things begin to happen differently than what you expect. The reason you expect yourself as the first choice, you thought, I'm going to gain happiness and all the greatest things to happen. But actually all the opposite things happen. Conflicting, sadness, depression, all those are a result of that self-centeredness, including paranoia. Paranoia comes a person who is very deeply self-centered. It will never happen to a person with an open mind. So this is all our own, our man-made problem. It's nothing to do with devil. We always like to blame things. We like to say anything happens wrong, well, somebody must be doing that. I don't think that is true. I think you need to work with your mind. You need to look and you need to open up and be more kinder. So that kind of mental training is extremely important, first recognizing how your mind is functioning. And only by seeing, then can we change. Without seeing that, we will never accept. If we don't accept, we can never change. You need to open up in order to change. So many different methods of practice is given in the Mayan teaching. One thing is called Tonglen practice, sending all your positive energy to others, starting with your mother, who you can feel open to take her pain and suffering to yourself, is a mind training. That mind training becomes very important for us to grow. You see, our mind is stuck somewhere, so that only mind can find the answer to the mind problem. Material cannot heal the mind problem. They are two different entities. His Holiness the Lama says, if you have a lot of mental agony, suffering, you got like a 10 carats diamond, you lick that diamond, it's not going to heal your mind. The problem is coming from the mind, you go to address from the mind, and answer is in the mind, not outside of the mind. And that's true. So when the problems come from our afflictive emotion, self-centeredness, only through the opposite antidote you need to bring upon there. And then you can solve the problem. So answer is always in your mind. But in order to know how to bring that about, you need mind training. You need to do Tonglen practice. You need to do sitting practice and meditation. It's directly with yourself. And one thing about practice of practice of meditation, generally the Buddhist teaching is, the entire Buddhist teaching is based on the ground reality. There is no, since Buddha never claimed he is a creator. In fact, he said there is no creator, it's your own mind. So therefore there's nothing to convert in Buddhism. It's just directly learning about one's mind and then transforming within oneself. If the Buddha has been claimed that I'm the only God, and I'm the God and the only God, then we need to, if you want to be a Buddhist, you have to convert to that idea. Since he never claimed that, there's nothing to convert to become a Buddhist, except that working with the mind and discovering the deeper nature of your mind. And when we talk about meditation, it's how to work with your mind to free yourself from neurosis and from afflictive emotion, from the very causes that which blocks your mind from experiencing happiness and liberation. That's all about the teaching and the path of Buddhism. Discovering yourself. Therefore, it says you have to sit. You have to do mind training. You never say, you don't have to do anything, just pray to Buddha, everything will be fine. If that is the case, you would say, there's no need to do mind training, there's no need to reflect, just pray to me and then everything will be taken care. That has never worked in our existence. So many teaching came in this world and with so many promise, but here we are still stranded. We are still stranded. We are still stranded as long as we don't look deeper. We are always stranded. To give that promise will be a false promise. But there is a promise if you begin to work with yourself. From right now, you can transform yourself, you can change yourself. So, therefore, even a sensorial happiness, which in the eyes, something beautiful, in the ears, a beautiful music or praise or whatever, that all comes from your being open and your kind. That invites that within your space. And that's how you get satisfaction. Genuine love, affection, caring. So, now, that's very logical. I don't think it has anything to do with compassion being something outside or something. It is directly the nature. And you possess that compassion, in fact. You have that quality within yourself. The choice is now you need to think which is most important for me, my self-centeredness or kind-heartedness. Choice, you need to make that. No one else can make the choice for you. You need to make the choice. So when we look at that, even our relative experience, conventional experience of 5 sensorial experience come from compassion and kindness and affection. And so therefore these qualities within our mind, in our nature, in fact when you see between a compassion and ego, you see the opening and kindness is something give you satisfaction and joy, and it can remove and heal, remove that very cause of afflictive emotion. That mind is more power than the other side, the ego and self-centered mind. So therefore, the validity of that mind is much stronger, logical reality versus the self-centeredness, the anger, all these are afflictive emotion. So who is your enemy? Your enemy is your afflictive emotion, nobody else. To say, you are my enemy, that's pretty much wrong in a way. Because your main enemy is your afflictive emotion. And as far as when you look deeper to your afflictive emotion, it does nothing to you except whenever that comes into mind, it gives you pain. Anger gives you pain. Moment, you may think, I'm angry to somebody else and I'm going to fix her or fix him. But in fact, you're hurting yourself. So the only thing afflictive emotion does to you, nothing else than pain and suffering. We need to recognize and realize that. So once we realize, then we see, oh, this is my enemy. Shantideva, one of the greatest master who wrote the book called the Bodhicharyavatara Teaching, I think the greatest book in this world as far as practice of compassion is concerned. If you read that, you probably will understand. There are many commentaries written on that book. There's 10 chapters. And he said that if you want to get rid of all your enemies, you get rid of anger. As long as anger exists, it will always point finger to somebody else. And we have seen the wars going from centuries, whether in the name of religion, war, or whether in the name of, whatever the war is, the aggression. So if we can eliminate the aggression, which is right now, we can see how to do that, working with our mind, then you no longer have an enemy, he said. I think these are very profound words and something really to reflect in ourselves. So, methods how to deal with our emotions. That's what we need. We need a method. Without a method, at this point, things that were a little bit too much out of control. So now, in order to bring it back, you need a guidance, you need a method, you need to know and knowledge and wisdom how to work with yourself. So, and here, meditation practice is one of the methods. Earlier I asked, let's all do a prayer. And I said, what really means prayer? Prayer is to open up, bring, change our attitude. In fact, the greatest aspiration is the aspiration, like when you see, like yourself, you want to be free and happy, all others want the same. No one, without exception. There is no one who say, okay, I should suffer a little bit. No one says that. I should suffer, I should have happiness because I'm smarter, and because I'm not smarter, I deserve less happiness. Nobody says that. Everyone simply want to be happy, they simply want to find a method how they can free themselves. Day and night, that's the first thing in our mind. How are we going to find happiness? How are we going to be free from that? The great Tibetan master, Sakya Pandita, he was during the time of Mongols, when the Mongols ruled China, I think around Kublai Khan time, so I don't know which century that is. He said, he was a very great scholar, he said, why do you think the ant is moving here and there? Because they think it will find happiness. That's the only reason why the ant is going through every little hole and try to find some food or some protection from rain or whatever. And so does we all do. Moment we see a rain, we try to see a shade underneath a tree or underneath a highway bridge. In India, there's a lot of motorcycles. So I've seen when there's a heavy rain over there, like during monsoon time, you haven't seen any rain like that here. It just pours down. So people go, as a motorcycle, you open, so you go under the bridge, and there are like hundreds of motorcycles, until the rain is over there. So we're always seeking happiness. You go to work, why? Because you think you will find happiness. You come here, why? You think you will find happiness. Maybe that Lama has to say something, let me hear what he has to say. We go to a movie, we go to do this, because we are constantly seeking happiness. And everyone has a right to happiness, regardless of our sex, man, woman, children or older, or status. Everyone has a mind, and that mind has a basic goodness. And what basic goodness means? Not self-centeredness. Basic goodness means it is a potential of wisdom and compassion. And when you reach that culmination of wisdom and compassion, that's what means basic goodness, which is in your heart, in your mind. It's not outside of you. And that's what we are trying to find through the method of, whether it's mind training, whether it's the training of Tonglen practice, taking and sending, or whether it's a training method of sitting practice of meditation, is to know who you are deep inside. So everything is, now you see, your affection and kindness bring you happiness in your life, sensorial happiness. For sensorial happiness, it requires compassion, affection, love. Let's not talk about something very deep that I want to free all being from suffering, from the confusion. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible. You will strive, you can bring a lot of joy in a lot of people. But for that, you need even deeper compassion. In other words, really, really, until you are trapped in an ego mind, that will be impossible to do that. And the ego is a foreign mind. Ego is basically a confused mind, which is, it is intelligent. Don't think the ego is not intelligent. It's a twisted intelligent because it is, mind has, you see, the nature of mind, what is the quality of the mind versus inanimate and animate? Animate means mind, right? Inanimate is stones, like that. The mind has a knower, generally. That knower can be correct and that knower can be incorrect. To know, sometimes, a lot of time we judge our friends and families. We think they don't like you. But they may be liking you. So a lot of time we're struggling to, see other people and how should I shape them up? What should I think about them, basically? How do I relate to them? Based on your constant information you bring it through, like a super fast computer. You're constantly sorting out, what do I think? Because of the ego. There's a lot of gap between your thought and the other thing. You make a lot of misjudgment. But if you simply open up, sometimes simply opening up can relieve a lot of confusion out of your mind. That's the power of compassion, power of opening up. You don't have to do anything sometime. You can heal completely, if there is two conflicting situation. You're just there. And folks, whether you say it or whether you don't say it, the other person will also open up in that awareness. So very powerful when we go deeper, train our mind and work with our mind, removing afflictive emotion, then you begin to see your true awareness, true nature. So now, let me explain a little bit on meditation in connection with what we talk. Now, in order to understand mind, meditation is a very profound method how to open up, basically. And it doesn't require any special kind of mind. in how to work with your mind in practice meditation. You don't have to say, oh, do only Buddhists meditate? Or is meditation only for Buddhists? Or some other tradition? No, it's if the meditation belongs to some group, so to speak, then we are not really linking with nature. As I said earlier, we need to link directly with the nature, reality, ground reality. Therefore, when you do meditation, there is no such thing as a special thought is required. Should I think of Buddha? Should I think, if you're a Christian, should I think Jesus? If you're Buddhist, should I think Buddha? And if you're a Hindu, you think, should I think Shiva? Or if you're a shaman, should I think the tree or the sun god or the moon god? And if you are Republican, should you think Donald Trump? And if you're a Democrat, should I think Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton? It's not required. You're free from all this. Whatever is in your mind, you're just going to work with that. Maybe the local bakery is in your mind, you just work with that. Or the stand, whatever. So in meditation, you see, we have the habit of running after our thoughts. And running after our thoughts, what does it do? It gets fixated. You can get fixated to your imagination. You can get fixated to fantasy. You can get fixated to thoughts. And one thing, thoughts lead to the next and the next and the next. It's become a chain reaction. And there you are, trapped in that fixation. And there is no exit. It's like driving around Denver, like day and night without ever exit. Makes you crazy then. That's how the mind functions. Like continuously driven by that force. So then, not only it is just one simple thing, but it brings all the rest of the afflictive emotion. It brings anger, and then you have a particular thought, makes you angry, and then it can take you to jealousy next, and then it can take you to next, and so forth. Chain of neurosis. And then at the end, first you get so worked up. You get so worked up with these thoughts and emotion, then you suffer. You got pain in your mind now. You didn't intentionally start it that way. You thought, okay, let me play with my mind. Let me see how things are. But now you got so worked up, at some point you lost the principle. You lost what you intend to do is simply see some kind of entertainment. But then due to the fixation, you lost your way. You lost how to get back to home, so to speak, and driven to a very different state, including that sometimes we would kill ourselves. Suicide happens when things go really completely to the extreme fixation. So fixation is a problem in the mind. Now, what does that tell you? We need to open up, right, from fixation. So in order to open up to fixation, now you need to learn to be more natural. Fixation obviously is not natural. We think it's natural. At this point, we think, oh, my thoughts, my fantasy, my imagination, my anger, all this is just like, we take it like, this is who I am. But when you talk about affection, love, opening, oh, that's a little different. Looks more, we think a more foreign thing. It's pretty sad. But yet, the good thing, it says human intelligence is above the intelligence of an animal. No matter how wrong we get, we know something is not right. That's the intelligence. But we have not fully given the functioning of that intelligence to take over or function our life. We just give to our old bad habits all the time. Surrender to that and never rely, stood up against it in some way. Like no revolution. It's interesting, for someone to succeed on a spiritual path or anything in life, you need sometimes some tragic happening. Tragic happening, it says. A lukewarm situation doesn't really shake you up. Such as either you are really something going through a very difficult time. In the case of some of the Tibet great masters, what is known as, his name is Milarepa. There's books written about him, you can read. He was a simple person, just like you and me before. And things happened in his life that he and his sisters were driven out by their uncle and take all their possessions, family belonging. When his father died, the uncle took over, and the mother and his son and daughter went through tremendous hardship. I'm sure things like that happen even today, everywhere. But it went to an extreme, so much agony, and the mothers told her son, to Milarepa, you need to take revenge. Look at us, how we used to be a rich family. Suddenly everything is taken away from us. And now you need to take a revenge. Kill them through you learn some black magic, learn some magic and kill them. And if you don't succeed, don't ever show your face to me, she told him. And in order to fulfill his mother's wish, he went and practiced, met a teacher who can show him black magic. And he performed black magic and killed a lot of people through hailstorms. When there's a hailstorm, lots of birds die too, hit by. So it was a terrible thing happened. And after when he did that, he realized, what did I do? So much negativity, so much suffering I brought to. And really, with this cause, I cannot expect to go to some better place. Neither I can a better place in this world, in this life to go, nor in my next life. So he just went and searched for a spiritual practice. He went to look for now who can teach him Dharma. And then he went through, with that determination that really I'm destined to some very bad place to be by killing so many, harming so many. I got to find a way, so I need to change. I need to really find a very different way, path, method, how I can get out of this. And he met his teacher, went through rigorous training. The teacher gave him really hard time, but he was determined. And finally, through tremendous practice of compassion and wisdom, his teacher showed him, he achieved one of the greatest. If you look at his teaching, it's unbelievable, what he achieved. From the one place so dark into the light. Same thing, there was another story of another great teacher named Jigme Lingpa. Jigme Lingpa was a hunter. So one day he threw his arrow. Of course, there was no gun those days. We are talking like 12th, 13th centuries. And when he killed the deer child, the dear mother was fearlessly coming, even there is danger to her life, but would come, try to see the child, wouldn't run away. And when he saw that, he said, what did I do? this is such a bad act I've done, and completely make him see himself and go deeper. And then he's another teacher who find, one of the greatest master who's been through realization, fully coming to the culmination of wisdom and compassion, free one's ego. Well, you can say all those mental obscuration. So you see, for us, as a human being, even we go to that extent, everyone has different karma, so you go through different experience in life. But one thing we all know, that we can't live forever. Our time is limited on this earth. There's a sense of panic that I better do something right and good, because, okay, if you think you will live 100 years, which is very few people live 100 years. Most people 70, 80. So if you spend 50 years or 60 years, you spend more than half of your life. Now remaining period left is maybe 20, 30 years left. Out of that, you will sleep for half of the time. Now how much time is left then? Then you will have breakfast, maybe for another 2 years, if you bring them together. 2 years of breakfast, 2 years of lunch, 2 years of dinner, and then go to bar or have some snack another 1 year or 2 years. So now how much time you really bring to really focus to yourself? So little time left. If you do not purify your mental obscuration, if you don't deal with the inner enemy of afflictive emotion now, no one can do that to you. No one can come and save you. Since that mental affliction is the very cause of your suffering, wherever you go in this life or in the future lifetimes, mind doesn't die. You see, when people die, they don't know they're dead. Because it's just your habit. Habit projects, mind projects a picture, like our dream. In our dream, we see the world of habit. We see you have your identity of yourself when you go to sleep. I'm this person. And you're engaging with everything else, just like you deal right now. But there's nothing happening. But the same thing looks like so many things happening. There's love, there's war, there's crying, there's nightmare, there's joy, everything happening. Because the seed of that karma, the seed of that afflictive emotion is projecting that constantly in your life. So one is going through that. Actually, right now, there is no difference between the dream state and actual this state. Who say dream is not real? It's your mind. Who say this is real? Also you. But when you're dreaming, it never says that's not real. It's very real. You cry, you have nightmare, you're sweating, you're trying to run away. It's all your mind. And it's very real. You don't say, oh, I'm simply joking and making humor in when I go to sleep. It's scary. In fact, if you have like 3 nice rows of nightmare, you probably go to a psychiatrist. Or you go to a shaman, or you go to whoever. Or can I have like peaceful in my dream? So you see how our mind is bringing that out, our experience. So if you don't do something right now, it's really quite vicious, like the cycle without any exit. It's a very vicious cycle of afflictive emotion. You cannot be friends with your afflictive emotion because it will do nothing good to you except harm you and destroy you. That's the power of afflictive emotion. Sometimes people, we think, anger, no problem, just like a little bit of anger. In fact, we say, it's human to be angry. That's pretty bad to say that, actually. We need to deal with our afflictive emotion and not take it like light-hearted to that, because that is our real enemy, which is completely day and night bringing suffering and confusion into our life. And the effect of that is so deep, whether on a gross conscious level or subtle conscious level, it's always entertaining that, maintaining itself. And then, yes, it all finally boils down to that ego and fixation. And then earlier I was trying to say, ego is a misconstrued intelligence. It is intelligent, but it's misconstrued. So what is fear? Fear is also intelligence. It's a very complex intelligence, in fact. I heard that scientists discovered when we have a lot of fear, our blood rushes into our leg, so we can run away. And then when there's a lot of anger, our blood comes into our muscles, so you can, hit someone like defensive. The whole thing is basically surrounding about sense of security. So when we look at the nature of the ego is intelligence, but confused intelligence. In fact, because the nature of the ego always brings suffering, something not right, something inauspicious, something unpleasant into our life. So it is based on some confused sense of fear of survival. What you are fear of, you don't know, but it gives that picture. Like, for example, in your dream. When you see your dream with nightmares and confusion, you are sweating and you are very serious. But for what? There's nothing happening, but seems everything is happening. You want the whole world to come to you, protect you, support you, to take you out of that state. That's the power of mind. Mind intelligence can go wrong, and mind intelligence can go right. Mind intelligence, when it goes to the wrong place, it is ego, fixation, afflictive emotion. You're trying to protect something which has no basis. Now, ego is actually do exist, let's say. If actually ego does exist, then the further you go, it should find a place of comfort. It should have very real, valid existence. But the further you look into ego, you see ego is false perception, ego is no ground, so it has no validity, no intelligence. You can see that the opposite of ego mind can destroy ego, but ego cannot destroy compassion and wisdom. Wisdom can destroy ego. So there's more valid ground to that intelligence versus the ego's intelligence, which is built on sandcastle, sort of. It's just like temporal, it can fall apart. So that's nature in our mind. So now, since everything is fixation, so much we are caught with fixation. Now, how do we learn to not be fixated? Then that's training is meditation practice. So what you do in meditation? In meditation, you have to be with the breath. When you breathe out through your nose, and you breathe in, it's a living organism. You are just there with the breath. You need the awareness, mindfulness that you are with the breath. And of course, when you try to just simply with the breath with openness, not fixated to the breath, never fixated to the breath. You're just simply being with the breath. And well, we have to breathe natural, otherwise we could die. So breathing natural, nothing special, you are just breathing naturally and being with the breath, with just simply like touching to the breath and No obsession, in other words, no obsession. But obviously, when you're trying to be with the breath, you will have a thought. You cannot be without a thought. So many thoughts you have in your mind, habits of the past. You will bring some stories suddenly flash into your mind, or you will flash something, what's you going to do tomorrow or in the future, and you're processing that continuously, thoughts. So our usual mindset is the moment a thought arises, your mind is lost. You go with that thought. It's like a paper blown away by wind. So wherever the wind comes, that paper will fly with that. So moment a thought arises, our mind is wandering. Whatever that is, good thought, bad thought, whatever, your mind is gone. And then when your mind is gone, because there is fixation. If there is no fixation, then mind cannot be, it cannot produce neurosis. The reason it is creating neurosis with the wandering mind, there's a fixation to that, fixation of all habits. You cannot have a thought without those habits. You're fixated to that. And then you get trapped. And then it leads to many, many different thoughts. And then a lot of fixation, creating that neurosis. Result is then a lot of suffering, fear, uncertainty, unknowing, all those creating anxiety into your mind. So now when you have thoughts, you don't suppress a thought. No one has ever achieved suppression in the history of mankind. History of mindkind, I would say, not only mankind, or mindkind. Any government tried to suppress, never succeeded. Neither the communism succeeded by suppressing people. Neither any one religion saying everyone else has to be there suppressing has succeeded. No party can succeed. Yeah, Republicans want everyone to be Republican. Never they succeed in suppressing that. And Democrats want everyone to be Democrat. Neither they also succeed in suppressing. No one can succeed. Suppression never works in our mind because we all want to be free. There's awareness of want to be free. So when you get fixated, you are not natural. In fact, you got trapped like a butterfly sees a flame and goes straight into that flame, fire, and kill itself. You must have seen that. Like that. We get into the trap and it kills us. So now what you do? Of course there will be thoughts, past thought, future thoughts, and presently entertaining those past and future thoughts. When the thought arises in meditation practice, you should say, oh, there's that thought, conceptual arising. Moment you see that, moment you know that, the strength of that fixated mind will reduce already. By just seeing that, by knowing that its power goes down. And then, just knowing it, you would not go after that. Mindfulness will take you back to your breath and not wandering with the thoughts. So you keep doing that. That is the method. You need a mindfulness. You keep being with the breath and not wandering with your thoughts, whatever they are. Then at some point when you keep doing for a long time, you will find stability in your mind. You are grounded. Right now we are never grounded. Your body is here, but your mind is somewhere else. You're lost. So finally you come to relate with yourself in your home. Your mind is grounded. Then your mind is not fixated or less fixated. Huge opening already. You can see how mind can be open. And that open mind is sharp intelligence of intuition, intelligence of seeing things clearly. So whatever you do will be very powerful, in fact. If you're a student, your education, whatever you're working with, get very powerful because mind is not distracted to the focus. If you are working deeply with yours on a spiritual level, you can cut through those fixation and neurosis. So great benefit. That's why they say those who do a lot of meditation today in science, they have less blood pressure, and how the immune system grow. Their well-being is more, because all dealing with the mind. At the end of the day, it's your mind. So when you begin to understand your mind, that's changes, transformation happens. And you're not doing anything particular, you're just working with your mind. With mindfulness. And clearing the mistake on the path, such as if you get drowsy, you need to shake that up. And you need to be more alert and awake, because if you get drowsy, that's again one of the mistakes of meditation. And if you get too excited, too many thoughts coming, how do you deal with that? Should you suppress that thought? It will not. In fact, the moment you try to suppress, it will get even stronger. It will rise up. So sometimes you allow the thought. If you are with the breath, and too many thoughts coming, you're still trying to be with the breath, but you're not stopping that. You just allow, like a big space. As they say, how do you tame a cow? You don't put it in a small cage, but rather you free it in a big meadow, so it will eat the grass, eating grass. Finally, it will get tired and flop down. Same thing with the mind. You don't suppress. You allow, you just see it. Then its energy will be released, and finally there'll be sanity. That's how you work with the mind. So let's do a meditation practice now. So please sit in a comfortable posture. Sit, your back should be straight and relax. You shouldn't have your shoulder up tight, no pushing down, completely relaxed shoulder. And then your eyes should slightly gaze down, like looking at the tip of your nose, slightly gaze down and open, no fixation. Very relaxed, like maybe like 1 meter or 2 meters in front of you, like relax. And then you go to your breath. You're just simply being with the breath. And when thought arises, thought arises. Whatever that is, conceptual thoughts. When the traditional teaching is called conceptual thoughts. Just simple, or you can just say thinking, or labeling thinking. And then you let go. Just simply let go, open it. And just so, that's the method. So we will meditate now. if you have any questions, we can have some question and answer period here. Well, no question, then easy. Sometimes it's good to have some discussion, it's helpful. So if you have any question, we can have discussion here. One of the way as Buddha said, don't take my teaching because I said so. Check it, analyze, and if it does make sense, then take it. If it doesn't make sense, don't take it. So debate and discussion is extremely important in the Buddhist teaching. Because when you're talking about mind, there are a lot of questions and that we need to work with, through our mind. And questions, discussion, very, very important. In fact, I'm starting next Tuesday a book study, isn't it? I think it's next Tuesday. And there's a book called by His Holiness Dalai Lama called Religion, what's it called? Beyond Religion, Ethics and Values Beyond Religion. So I thought that'll be good that if you'd like to join, please get one of this book and something we can read and we can explore. What does that mean? I think it can be helpful. So it's called Beyond Religion. Because what Beyond Religion touches is the very concept we were talking today, that in order to receive affection and happiness is based on how much open you are to the others, your kindness. And it has nothing to do with religion, in fact. It's to do with your kind-hearted openness. And in fact, that is what, if there is a religion, that is what religion is about. It's not about division. It's not about you, me, which creates war. I think we should never have war in the name of religion. That's the last thing we need. It's a pretty sad situation. So how there are inner values to be identified within ourselves. So I think that even someone who is not a religious person, even atheist, someone who don't believe in religion, they also have goodness, they also have kindness, they also have compassion, they also have inner values. It's more about identifying directly one's inner values, which are the cause of our happiness. So therefore I think it's called Beyond Religion, that everyone has the potential of basic goodness in themselves. How to identify that? And of course, if someone is religious, have all those qualities, wonderful. But then sometimes the reason meditation is so important, we can get fixated. Sometimes religious people get more fixated. And when religious people get more fixated, that's where war happened. That's where puritanical happened. That's where righteousness happened. I know better than you. I'm more right. And already that I is so big and you look down on others, that is already you lost compassion, in fact. I think the basic three principles, which I've explained a few times, how ego mind looks, because we have ego so much time. Since we are not able to liberate ego, ego is still there existing in our mind. So basic pattern of ego mind, if it's higher than yourself, whether someone is richness, fame, power, whatever, you're jealous. If it's equal to yourself, your competitiveness. If it's lower than yourself, you look down on others. That's the basic how mind works most of the time. That's neurosis, isn't it? That's not something right. There's fixation. So when you do meditation, many of your fixation, the causes of those neuroses are freed. And then a genuine person, a genuine inner value can manifest. And that genuine inner value can bring happiness to you, not those puritanicalism. In fact, puritanical makes you not very good. We make wars. In the name of religion, there have been a lot of wars fought. And that's very sad. It had all started with the fixation in the mind, nothing else. It all was really to that. So that's all I want to say. Thank you. Let's please distribute the World Peace Prayer. In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. In the world in general and in this nation, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard. May virtuous qualities and merit and prosperity greatly increase, and may continuous good fortune and sublime well-being perfectly rise. By this merit, may all beings gain omniscience, thus defeat the neurosis,
of cyclic existence, may all beings be liberated.
Thank you. So, we have a session of meditation here. Now, there's post-meditation, when you go out. That's where, again, you need to bring the awareness. Doesn't mean that you only have the awareness when you come here, but then when you go back outside, then again back to our old mind. You need to work with the fixation no matter where you are. And you can do that. You need to bring your awareness when you are in a situation, especially with anger. You need to work with anger. Because that's among all the destructive emotion, anger is the most destructive emotion, aggression. So therefore, when that happens, you need to see that. And do not react. I think that's the power of anger. It makes you react instantly. You step back and watch your mind. And then maybe after a few hours, you're happy that you didn't react instantly because you thought that can be could turn into ugly situation. So you kind of step back. So basically, mindfulness is required when you go out working with your mind. And then bringing in between, before you go to bed, sit for a little bit. When you get up in the morning, just bring your awareness, sit for a little bit. It will open your mind. Then you become kinder, gentler. So, very important to have mindfulness in post-meditation state also. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Rinpoche. So just a few announcements before we head out. So Rinpoche is heading down to Montrose, the Western Slope, for the weekend and giving teachings there. And then he's coming back, like he mentioned, on Tuesday. He'll be kind of kicking off a new book group. So please join us for that. And then next Thursday, he'll be teaching again. And then Friday evening and Saturday morning, he's teaching on bodhicitta, which is the mind of great compassion. And then Saturday evening, he's going to be cooking for the whole Sangha. So we're going to open up our kitchen for the first time and have a Sangha dinner. So for all those events, you can find it. Thankfully, we now have a new website. So we launched today. So all of those you can register on the website. And I'd like to say thank you for all the people that were involved, especially Margot, who led the project. It's if any of you have been involved in websites, you know it's a really long and arduous process. So to get here is exciting. And so especially please register if you're going to come for that dinner. There's no cost for it, but we'd love to know how many people are coming so we know how many to cook for. And then Rinpoche will be leaving for this time. So he'll be heading California for a couple weeks and then heading back to India. And so please don't miss the next couple weeks of teachings here because they're really precious. Thank you, Rinpoche.